Bellanova shimmered under the low glow of its chandeliers, the kind of place where powerful men whispered deals over handmade pasta. Lucia Hart slipped between tables, her black flats aching, her green eyes sharp in a way that didn't match the uniform she wore. She'd grown up studying danger the way other kids studied math. And tonight, the restaurant breathed wrong. At 7:42 p.m., the doors opened and Raphael Bullery took his seat at table 7. The room didn't react, but Lucia did. Something colder slid in behind him. 3 men near the entrance, silent, still, watching only him. When she stepped to Raphael's table, he looked up, voice low. "You saw it too, didn't you?" "Yes," she murmured, pulse climbing. "And if I'm right, you shouldn't be sitting here." His gaze sharpened, meeting the truth in hers. In that moment, the night shifted from routine to survival, and Lucia realized she was the only person in the room willing to act. What happens next will decide who lives long enough to walk out of Bellanova. If this pulled you in, like the video and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales for the next chapter. The restaurant's glow sharpened into something harsher the moment Lucia stepped back from Raphael's table. She felt the tension tightening at the edges of the room like fabric being pulled too far, a quiet pressure only she seemed to notice. What the diners heard was clinking silverware. What Lucia heard was the shift of danger settling into place. Behind her, Vincent blocked her path, the sour scent of his impatience hitting her before his words did. "Move faster, Lucia. Vipers don't wait for girls like you." She kept her voice steady. "Something's wrong at table 7. "Nothing's wrong," he snapped. "What's wrong is your attitude. Get the wine. Male. Try to be useful." He walked away, muttering loud enough for nearby guests to hear. That's what happens when restaurants hire charity cases. The comment stung, but she didn't stop moving. She'd learned long ago that some insults weren't meant to wound, only to distract. And tonight distraction could kill someone. She reached the service station and exhaled slowly, grounding herself. 3 men near the entrance didn't touch their menus, didn't adjust their posture, didn't behave like ordinary customers. They watched Raphael through the screen of polished glass, unaware that Lucia saw every flick of their eyes. She returned with the wine, each step steady even as adrenaline sprinted through her veins. Raphael sat composed, but his eyes tracked her with quiet calculation, the look of someone who already knew she was about to speak a truth he shouldn't ignore. "Your wine, sir," she said softly. Then she leaned in, placing the bottle down. "And, you need to listen." Raphael's gaze sharpened. "Say it." 3 men by the entrance," she murmured. "They're not here to eat. One has a gun. If you stay seated, something bad happens." For a beat, the room went soundless. Then Raphael lifted his glass as though tasting the wine. His voice barely audible. "What do you want me to do?" "Stand when I drop the tray," she whispered. "Move fast." She stepped back, heart racing, hands trembling just enough to pass for nerves. Then she let the metal tray fall. The crash echoed like thunder. Chairs scrape. A woman gasped. And Lucia watched Raphael rise with surprising speed, the controlled urgency of a man accustomed to danger. The first shot was suppressed, a faint whisper that most guests mistook for glass breaking. Raphael didn't. Neither did Lucia. She grabbed his wrist. "This way." The kitchen burst into motion the second they ran through it. Chefs shouting, pans falling, the head cook yelling for someone to turn off the stove. Lucia dodged a stack of plates, tugging Raphael toward the service alley. "Who are you?" he asked breathlessly. "Someone who hates seeing innocent people die," she said. "And someone tired of pretending not to notice danger." They shoved through the back door into cold air. Raphael's driver appeared almost instantly, pulling up a black SUV like he'd been waiting for a signal only he could hear. Inside, Lucia pressed back against the leather seat, her fingers still trembling. Raphael watched her with intensity, not gratitude, curiosity mixed with suspicion. "You shouldn't be involved," he said. "You shouldn't be hunted in a restaurant," she countered. His mouth twitched, something like reluctant amusement. "Fair point." The driver Marco glanced back. Boss, we can't return to the penthouse. They may have eyes there. Then find a new place, Raphael said. Somewhere secure. Lucia had barely caught her breath when Raphael turned to her again. You saved my life. But now you're in danger. They saw your face. I figured, she whispered. I've been seen by worse people than them. Raphael studied her the way someone might examine a puzzle piece. One that didn't belong, yet fit perfectly. Tell me your name, he said. Lucia Hart. And why did you help me, Lucia Hart? Because someone had to. He sat back quiet. And in that silence, the SUV carved through the city like a knife through dusk. The safe house wasn't a house at all. It was a high-rise overlooking the river, secured by guards who nodded at Raphael with the kind of respect that wasn't earned through charm but through legend. Lucia followed him inside, feeling small in a place made for giants. But the fear didn't come from the building. It came from the realization that she was now part of something larger than herself. Inside the elevator, Raphael spoke softly. My enemies don't forgive. They don't forget. And now they know you exist. Lucia lifted her chin. So, I've lived my whole life invisible. Maybe being seen won't kill me. It could, he said. It nearly killed me tonight. When the elevator opened, he led her into a suite with floor-to-ceiling windows and marble floors. It didn't feel like protection. It felt like a gilded cage. Yet for the first time, Lucia wasn't thinking of escape. She was thinking of answers. While Raphael made calls, Lucia stood by the windows, watching the city. In the glass reflection, her face looked different. Older, steadier. Like she'd stepped out of the role life had forced on her and into the one she was born to play. Marco appeared at the doorway. You okay? I've been worse, she said. You were brave, he replied. Most people freeze. Most people weren't raised by a cop. Marco nodded slowly, understanding more from that sentence than she intended to reveal. When Raphael returned, his expression was darker. They already know your name, he said. They're offering money for anyone who finds you. How much? 50,000. Lucia let out a slow breath. That's comforting. It shouldn't be. No, she agreed. But it means you were worth saving. The faint lift of his brow was the closest thing to a smile he'd offered all night. Over the next days, the danger closed in like storm clouds. Raphael's security intercepted calls, tracked chatter in underground networks, and traced payments connected to the attempted hit. They found one name repeated often. Sean Calderon, one of Raphael's rivals and a man infamous for his hatred of anyone he considered beneath him. You mean anyone not rich and pale as porcelain? Lucia muttered when Raphael briefed her. Raphael didn't smile. Sean has never failed at humiliating people he sees as inferior. And he's obsessed with taking territory that isn't his. Let me guess, she said. He hired the men at the restaurant. Yes. And he's furious you interfered. Good, Lucia thought. Let him be furious. Fury made people reckless. Raphael leaned forward, elbows on his knees. He doesn't only want me gone. Now he wants you gone too. Then we stop him, Lucia said. Raphael blinked, caught off guard. You say that like it's simple. No, she answered. I say it like it's necessary. He stared at her, just stared, before releasing a slow breath. You're braver than most people I know. You should meet better people, she replied softly. But inside something warm flickered. Recognition. Respect. Connection. The night Calderon made his move, rain hammered the streets like fists on steel. Lucia stood inside another safe location, this time part of Raphael's private network of secured buildings, watching shadows stretch across concrete walls. Raphael joined her, tension radiating off him like heat. He's coming, he said quietly. He thinks he finally found where I'm hiding. Lucia glanced at him. Let him think it. Raphael studied her again, as if still unsure how a waitress had become part of his war. You don't have to be here, he murmured. Yes, she said. I do. When Calderon arrived, he didn't slip in through the shadows. He marched in with 6 armed men, arrogance dripping from every step. He didn't expect resistance. He expected a clean victory. But what he walked into was a trap. Raphael stepped forward first, flanked by his security. Lucia stood behind him, refusing to hide. Calderon's smirk turned predatory. So this is the little waitress who caused me trouble, he said loudly. Should have known someone like you would stick your nose where it didn't belong. Lucia felt the insult burn, but she didn't look away. Someone like me. Yes, he sneered. People who serve instead of lead. People who forget their place. Raphael's jaw clenched. Careful. Oh, please, Calderon scoffed. The girl's nothing. Trash dressed up in a uniform. And you're risking your empire for her. For a moment, the room vibrated with a silence thick enough to break. Then Raphael spoke. You made 2 mistakes, Sean. First, you failed to kill me. Second, you underestimated her. Calderon opened his mouth to retort, but Lucia stepped forward. You know what your problem is, Sean, she said. You think power makes you untouchable. But real power, real leadership, protects people. It doesn't hunt them. He laughed. Spare me the moral speech. Oh, it's not a speech, Lucia replied. It's your eulogy. Before Calderon could react, Raphael signaled his men. The room erupted, but not in bullets. Raphael had promised Lucia no innocent blood would spill tonight. Instead, Calderon's own men, secretly paid off, tired of his cruelty, turned on him. He stumbled back, shock tearing through his features as betrayal snapped like a whip. What are you doing? One of his former guards shrugged. Working for someone better. Within seconds, Calderon was on his knees, surrounded, humiliated, powerless. Raphael approached him slowly. You wanted to take my territory, he said. Now you'll lose your own instead. Permanently. Calderon struggled, sputtering. You can't. Lucia crouched before him, her voice calm. This is the consequence of thinking some people don't matter. Raphael's men escorted Calderon out, a man stripped of power, reputation, and influence. His empire dissolved within hours, swallowed by rivals who respected Raphael more. Justice not bloody but final. For Lucia it was enough. When the danger ended, Raphael turned to her. You saved me twice, he said. And you listened when it mattered, she replied. Stay, he whispered. Not because you're afraid. Because you choose to. Lucia looked at the man who once sat alone at table 7, unaware he was being hunted. A man who now stood alive because she refused to stay invisible. I choose to, she said. And somewhere in the city, Sean Calderon faced the cost of every cruel word he'd spoken, every life he tried to break. Proof that arrogance falls hardest when it thinks it can never fall at all. The story's end wasn't just survival. It was justice. And justice in the right hands was undeniable. In the days after Calderon's downfall, Lucia found herself walking through the city with a steadiness she hadn't felt in years. People still hurried past her on crowded sidewalks, unaware of how close she'd come to disappearing, but something inside her had shifted. She no longer moved like someone trying to stay unseen. Raphael noticed it too. One evening, as they overlooked the river from a quiet rooftop, he said softly, You never let fear decide who you were. Lucia shook her head. Fear didn't save anyone. Paying attention did. Acting when it mattered did. For the first time, she understood why her father had spent a lifetime trying to protect strangers. Not because duty demanded it, but because courage was a choice. One ordinary people could make at extraordinary moments. And she had made hers. The city lights shimmered across the water, stretching into the distance like a path she had finally learned to walk. Behind her, Raphael's world was still complicated, still full of shadows, but she wasn't the girl carrying trays across marble floors anymore. She was someone who refused to let injustice go unchallenged, someone who had faced power and not bowed to it. As a breeze lifted her hair, Lucia glanced at the skyline and felt something rare. Peace earned through grit, truth, and the refusal to look away. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales to support more powerful stories like this one.